NVIDIA stock has been extremely strong this year. This is the result of the success they're having with artificial intelligence, AI. AI is driving a build out of infrastructure through a lot of the data centers. This is opportunity for NVIDIA, given their success that they already had in the data center market. And this is on top of the success they had in crypto mining and before that in graphics chips. So NVIDIA is quite the success story. The revenues for the company are up tenfold over 10 years, and that has driven the stock dramatically higher. The stock growth has actually outpaced the revenue growth. But this story reminds me a lot of the story of Cisco in the late 90s, when Cisco was the darling of Wall Street. It was the leading infrastructure provider for the internet build out, as Cisco routers were going into every place in the world to help with that infrastructure build out. So they were experiencing a boom similar to what NVIDIA is experiencing now. As you can see on these revenue charts, Cisco is the red line. Cisco had explosive revenue growth from 1996 until 2000, and then it peaked out. And then we had a situation where it did have a subsequent decline. And one of the reasons for this is when you're selling a capital goods infrastructure piece of equipment and there's a shortage and there's a new boom going on, everybody's out scrambling to build this equipment and buy this equipment and get it installed. And that's the success that Cisco experienced. And you can see it was quite the build out. And then there was a little bit of excess of build out of internet infrastructure, and there was a bust. And then revenues declined for a while, and then they stabilized and started moving up again. The situation with NVIDIA is they also are in this capital goods business. They are selling their semiconductors embedded in modules that are providing the infrastructure in these data centers that are now providing artificial intelligence as one of their components. And they're also selling it to other companies specifically that are developing artificial intelligence for their business needs. But this boom build out is taking place and the revenues are surging. This combination can be destructive, especially if there's some other items taking place as well. For instance, currently on the NVIDIA products, there was a surge of buying by Chinese companies, some of which have said they bought more than a year's worth of the product they need to develop their artificial intelligence solutions that they'll need over the next year. So you've had this big build out. When you're also having a new build out of a fairly new technology, people are buying it and testing it, everybody wants to give it a try. That is also taking place across the globe. And you're seeing this massive expenditures. So revenues have surged, pricing has been very strong, margins are phenomenal, and this draws in competition. So you begin to see a situation where competition is starting to take place. Google and Amazon are offering and building out their own artificial intelligence chips and modules. Microsoft through ChatGPT is looking into building out its artificial intelligence solutions through that business partner. And then you've already got AMD, Intel, IBM building out artificial intelligence chips and modules as well. So the combination of competition and a cyclical spending boom makes it very likely that at some time in 2024, NVIDIA will see peak revenue growth, at least for this cyclical peak, and then go into some sort of revenue decline. That is at least my opinion on how this is going to play out. The consensus on analysts is clearly different than that, and the stock is being priced clearly different than that opinion. Analysts are expecting revenue growth for NVIDIA into 2024, their fiscal 2025, January 2025, to be 60%, and then for there to be mid-teens revenue growth into the indefinite future. I think that scenario is highly unlikely. So we're now in a situation where what happens after that period where you've got this revenue rolling over. So the red line again is Cisco, and you can see Cisco had a phenomenal stock chart, very similar to the explosion in the stock that NVIDIA has seen. But when their revenues rolled over, the company ended up having a very significant decline on its stock price of about 83%. Now Cisco and NVIDIA are not exactly the same. This doesn't mean this is going to play out exactly like this for NVIDIA, but the similarities are striking. Both are leaders in a fast-growing capital spending boom, in building out into a bubble. They've both shown exponential revenue growth, and they both drove phenomenal wealth creation. Now the real question here is, will the similarities continue and NVIDIA have a cyclical peak? And also the question is, when does that cyclical peak occur? And will there be an ultimate drawdown in revenues that results in a significant drawdown in stock? In my opinion, these scenarios, especially given that they're capital spending type situations, and a lot of customers have bought more NVIDIA product than they actually need for the next year, it appears to me that this scenario is likely to play out. I'm avoiding NVIDIA stock. I think that's the cautious thing to do. I would, if I did own it, I would at a bare minimum be trimming some here, selling the bulk of it. You've made a lot of money on the stock. Don't get too greedy, overstay your welcome. At least get your initial capital investment out of the investment so that if the thing does decline, you don't end up being a net loser with one of the bigger stocks of all time. So that's my opinion. Please remember, this is not investment advice. We do not know your particular situation. And you can see our full disclaimer on buildingbenjamins.com. And you can also sign up for text and email alerts. Thank you for your time and have a great day.